What's going on there? Guys, we back with another one, and today we got to talk about Cam Newton's comments about a topic that has been bubbling over the last few weeks. You know, he called out Tua Tagovailoa and Dak Prescott as game managers. He called out a couple of other quarterbacks, but those two resonated, and along with Brock Purdy, resonated with the masses. Now, Jared Goff, they went out there and got a win, and you know, nobody wouldn't say he's still not a game manager, but he went out there and did his thing at least. Tua was playing in some harsh conditions, you know what I'm saying? But a lot of the fan base didn't like the fact that he was asking for Patrick Mahomes' jersey right after the loss. He didn't take it to heart at all. Dak Prescott was absolutely terrible again when it mattered most. And at this point, if you're a Dallas fan, do you believe in Dak Prescott going forward as your quarterback? Let me know in the comment section. Cam Newton kind of took a shot at Kimberly Martin again, but he really went in on Jason Mcintyre of the Herd, calling out Cam Newton. And a lot of people has been saying, you know, they've been using the way to attack Cam Newton by some of his shortcomings or perceived shortcomings in his NFL career to invalidate his criticisms. And Cam Newton is like, if I'm not qualified, former MVP of the league, went to the Super Bowl, then who is qualified to speak on the sport, you know, that he's invested blood, sweat, and tears in? Let's check out what he had to say.
This was supposed to be Dallas's year. They're hanging on the 90s mantra. Like, that's not the situation. If anything, America's team is the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yes, it is now, yeah.
They've been able to be polarizing, not only just from the sports spectrum, but also from the culture standpoint.
Yeah, everybody jumping in.
That's why they riding the wave of Taylor Swift. We've never really seen this. If you were to say it in basketball, America's team is either the Los Angeles Lakers or the Golden State Warriors. That's not something that you could just keep saying year after year after year after. That shit is earned.
You gotta win.
You gotta win.
The big one.
Like, bro, when Tom Brady was at his realm in New England, that was America's team. Cause that motherfucker won.
They say we all rent our titles. Your title is not forever yours. We all rent our titles.
They haven't reserved the right to say that they're America's team. If any team is America's team, it's the Kansas City Chiefs.
And you standing on it.
Just go to the clip where he says what he said.
Cam Newton has a podcast, and Cam Newton, of course, was a tremendous player.
Don't give me no backhand compliments. Don't do that.
Because he said, yeah.
I'm not playing. Haven't played in 2 or 3 years.
Cam Newton, you had a worse career than Dak Prescott. They were able to pull up some stats. Let's just take a glance,
pause right there. I was a dual threat quarterback. Add in rushing yards.
Rushing touchdown.
Add in rushing touchdowns.
Because who's number one as a quarterback?
They try to manipulate the narrative. Instead of speaking about what I said, they try to poke at the person. Jason, if I were to do my research on you personally, failed situations, got fired from a job, flunked out of college, if I really were to do that, then I will be evil.
You're the bully.
I'm the bully. Or I'm bitter. Even though I'm a game manager, I got to manage this situation. Now I have to change the situation. The great game changers are elite game managers. And they know when it's time, all options are exerted. So now I have to take it upon myself to make that play. Tua didn't do that. Dak didn't do that. But when I say that, that's me hating. That's not me, bro. I'm a Dak Prescott fan. I'm just holding him accountable. But as an analyst of this sport, I have the right to speak my truth. Until you have me feel or think any different, that's just what it is.
Yeah.
I've already spoke on game manager versus game changer. In the playoffs, this is where the game changers make their mark. What I already knew about Tua, they have not consistently beat good teams. The thing about the Dallas situation and why their loss was worse, because it was at home. And everybody knew you don't bet against Dallas
at home.
They were a little lethargic. And while I was analyzing the game, it was like they was having problems getting CD involved early. The playoffs is a perfect indication where your game changers step up. And I apologize, and I'm getting personal. I apologize that I didn't show that enough in my career. I showed it some, but shit, some people don't even show it at all. ESPN ain't as entertaining as it once was. But when I say that, that's me hating. That's me trying to bring more credibility to my platform. No, motherfucker. What I am saying is, if I'm not credible to talk about this sport of football, then who is? We can hear from LeBron James. We can hear from Draymond Green, go on this podcast. Paul George, go on this podcast. Shannon Sharp, qualified. Ocho Cinco, qualified.
Yep.
Pat McAfee, paper route. Brandon Marshall, the pivot, qualified. And I'll say this, too, it is what it is. I love Cameron and Mace. But that's just almost like me critiquing a rap song. But does that tell me that they can't talk about it? No. Because if they could talk about it, which they do a great job of talking about sports, they're no different than everybody else.
Then the Stephen A.
You see what I'm saying? So shit, it's more entertaining to hear from Cameron and damn Mace because they gonna keep it real with you. So fuck all that damn mainstream shit. I'm gonna go somewhere where it's gonna be entertaining.
What are your greatest objections to how NFL media covered you?
Where's the credentials? That's a big kind of concern for me because we all can talk about the sport, but I think oftentimes when something is said, similar to what I said, let's use the most recent example about game manager versus game changer. I mean, that kind of went viral for what it was, but I never was degrading or trying to suppress a specific talent. My thinking was backed by merit. And I think a lot of people kind of get into a space where they just speak something and not be held accountable. The main reason why I started Funky Friday, the main reason why I started, 4th and 1 as the sports show was to hold reporters, coaches, GMs, as well as players accountable to certain things. I mean, over the past weekend, really over the past week, there's been some examples of people that have said some rather interesting takes and nobody's held them accountable. Paul Feinbaum, his take on, Michigan. Nobody's talking about that. They're not holding them to the fire like they held me to the fire in regards to speaking about Brock Purdy, Tua Tagovailoa, Jared Goff, as well as Dak Prescott. Stephen A. Smith, went on to say the Texans have zero chance of winning. And obviously, what do we have for that? He's just going on, still making his certain takes. So, I'm not saying that to say that they're bad people. I'm just saying we just have to hold people to a standard and hold them accountable in every aspect of sports, not just the players in this case.
And see, this right here is why I didn't like in the beginning where ESPN would go in on people that they perceived as busts, like Jamarcus Russell, Kwame Brown, those different players. They started labeling them as busts because now you see how this thing has spiraled out of control. Now an former MVP of the league is invalidated because he has an opinion, and not just an opinion about a position that he played at a high level and achieved MVP, status and was able to play in a Super Bowl. And so if he can't speak on that position, whether he's right or wrong, if he's not credentialed enough to have an opinion about it, then who is? The guys sitting behind, the microphone that are just sports enthusiasts that have never played at a high level. Cam Newton's absolutely right. And I feel like people are threatened by their voices and their takes on it because you have to remember these guys actually know what they're talking about. You can listen to one of their podcasts and come away more educated about the game. It isn't just a bunch of screaming, generalized statements and things like that. It is really what it takes to be great at this position. The ins and outs, the day-to-day, what you eat, what you put in your body. You can get this type of information from these players with podcasts now. And I feel like some of the people at ESPN is threatened by that, man. And some of the people at FS1, all these other places, and they know that they can't just bring these guys in as hired work. A lot of these people, they would have never even thought about bringing on, to even be a moderator, or not a moderator, but just a guest on the show to speak on the sport. But now they have their own platforms, and now they're looking at them funny. And the people are choosing these platforms because they want to be educated. that old LeBron James, Dallas Cowboys talk is played out at this point, and we really want to know more about the game on both ends. So if you want to know more about the basketball game, there's so many people out there. Even, people that say silly things like Gilbert Arenas and those guys. I would rather hear what some of those people have to say on there, because even though Rashad McCants, Gilbert Arenas, those guys are wrong a lot, they do say some great things sometimes. You could tell they played, and they played at a level that most of us never have played at. So, and they'll say things like that. Even in some of the madness, you'll get some of that. You can extract that out of it. But back to Cam Newton, man, and him speaking on the sport, you saw people like Kimberly Martin and those people. That's why that little kid felt like they could disrespect Cam Newton at his football camp. How crazy is it for a player to pay for your football camp, come up there and say you ain't like that no more, but you've reached the apex, made all the millions of dollars at the highest level at the sport that he aspires to reach the top level at? We used to have more respect than that. If I would have said something like that at a camp that my mom paid for, I would have got slapped right in front of everybody just because of the embarrassment. That's fine. The fact that you're going to talk about a former MVP like that, though, and you paid for his camp, it's crazy to me. And it's this type of commentary right here coming on every day, trying to discredit Cam Newton's career like Jason McIntyre was trying to do, like so many others have tried to do, because he called Dak and those guys game managers, is where the disrespect comes from, or the feel like the way people feel like they can do it. That's where this comes from. They're just getting what they're fed by these major networks, not really learning the game, all out. I would like to go find out where that kid is now, because he should be grown and in college. He's getting more of a reality check, most likely, to see how hard it is to make it to that NFL level. So if these networks were smart, if people were smart, they would use these guys as resources, man, because they really know the game in and out, and they could really help, a lot of people. If you know what's good, you build that relationship and have him as a guest on the show. If he would do that, he may not even would do that, but trying to tear these people down, man, the new media is in the door, so it is what it is at this point. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Till next time. Peace.